Hey guys, this is the second part of my story, more like the first part because I haven't really told it yet, so let's just go ahead and begin. Pardon my crazy hair and my face because I just got out of the shower and I had to go pick up the kids and I'm waiting in the pickup line again. Most of my videos will probably be done in the car because of this, because I have time to just sit here and think and everything. So I guess how I started becoming sick. I haven't always been sick, thankfully. When I was a kid, I was pretty healthy and I was really athletic. I was always outside running around and doing pretty much everything kids do. I used to like to make a lot of tree forts, and I would climb trees and I would make forts in the woods, and we really liked forts and just playing outside. So I had my experience as a kid of being free of any disability, and I really count myself lucky for that because not everybody gets that. My kids don't even get that. So I'm very happy that I had that. I really wish my kids did, but they're still happy kids. You know, they still get to do a lot of things. But back to what I was going to be talking about today is my chronic illness journey pretty much starts when I am an adult, actually. I had some problems as a teen with, I had like maybe 1 or 2 episodes of almost fainting, but I didn't really attribute it to much, and I didn't have many health problems. It was mainly from standing in a hot place. And when I was a teenager, I noticed little things here and there, but my problems didn't really start until I was pregnant with my second child, with Caitlin, and excuse me, but anyways, so when I was pregnant with her, I used to have a lot of episodes where my chest felt tight, and I just thought maybe I was nervous because I was a very nervous mom all the time when I was pregnant, so I thought maybe that was it, that I was just always just extra nervous because I was pregnant. So I didn't really think anything of it until one time I was doing the dishes when I was 5 months pregnant, and I passed out. I woke up on the floor of my kitchen. Don't know why. I went to the ER. And of course, they do all the tests laying down. So they said, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. You're pregnant. So just be careful. So I said, okay, awesome. So I thought that was fine. And it was weird because when I was in there in the ER, they were taking my heart rate and they were like, why do we keep picking up the baby's heart rate? They thought they were picking up the fetal heart rate because it was so fast. I mean, it was 155 laying down, but it was actually my heart rate. And they were like, that has to be the fetal heart rate. And they couldn't find my heart rate, but apparently they just didn't know it was my heart rate. So they just sent me home. So the next day, I almost passed out in the shower. And I went back to that same ER, and the doctor was really rude to me. And she was like, look, there's nothing I can do for you. I don't know why you're back here. Your vitals are fine now. You need to leave. And she was just extremely rude. She hadn't even done any tests yet. And I was like, well, you haven't even done any tests today yet, so I don't understand how you think I'm okay. But, fine. So then she was like, well, we'll go ahead and run this stuff again. And I was like, no, forget it. And I was just so upset that I just started ripping off my IV and everything and my EKG leads because I thought it was ridiculous, and I knew she wasn't going to help me and just going to charge me more money. So I just decided to leave, and that was my first experience being, I would say, my invisible illness really hiding itself in situations where I really needed help, and it hid itself. It was like, I felt like maybe I was crazy or something. Like the doctor thought I was crazy, so maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I really just made it all up in my head and it passed out just because I'm crazy. Who knows? So, anyway. So, I had a lot of episodes like that. And at the time, my daughter was not even 2 yet, my oldest one. And I was pregnant with another one. And I was just so tired all the time, and I couldn't really do much. I laid around a lot, laid on the couch. It was exhausting just giving her a bath. Sometimes I would have to sit on the floor of the bathroom and just give her a bath that way. I couldn't really even sit on the side of the tub because it was too high. I would just get really, really, really dizzy and just almost fall over, or I would start seeing things like spots. And I had a hard time staying conscious. So I did a lot of laying around, and I seemed to get worse the more I laid around, and I had no idea why. So I finally, I got through my pregnancy, and then after my first daughter was born, my second daughter was born, things seemed to be a little bit better. Maybe the stress I thought maybe pregnancy was just stressing my body out. So I started looking for jobs because my husband had gotten laid off. So I started looking for different jobs, and the job that I found was an inventory service. And this inventory service, there was a lot of standing involved with this job, because I had to stand there and scan inventory and count things for like Target and stuff and all the major, a lot of major stores. So I found myself having those similar symptoms again, of getting a really, really tight chest, feeling dizzy, feeling like I'm going to throw up, and then not being able to stand very much. So I decided to consult a cardiologist, and this was in 2006, they did a tilt table test on me, and he said that I had NCS, which is neurocardiogenic syncope, which basically means that my brain causes my heart to go crazy, which causes me to pass out. But there's no really reason why. That's just like the syndrome that I had. And he said, well, there's different things we can try. Let's try Florinef. He just tried me on different medicines, and then they didn't really work, and it was really, really hard. So I ended up having to quit that job because I couldn't stand up. I kept like falling off things. And sometimes they'd have us standing on really high ladders, and that was a health risk for me. So I quit that job. And my husband, I think I quit it as soon as he got hired again or found another job. And things were pretty stressful around my house for a while. It just seemed like things just started getting worse the moment stress got worse, because you know how stress, it always makes everything worse. Well, yeah, whatever your weakest point is, the stress will start right there and start picking at it. If that makes any sense. So I was pretty stressed. The year went on, and then we decided that there wasn't enough work where we were living. We were living in Michigan at the time. So we decided to move back down to Texas, where I used to live in high school for the last 2 years of high school. So we moved back down here, and there was a lot more opportunity. And then my husband got a job right away, and I started looking for doctors. So I started doing like Google searches on neurocardiogenic syncope, and then that brought up, these people were asking me if I had POTS. And I was like, what's POTS? Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome? Like, that's a mouthful. I don't know, I might have POTS. So then I started looking for a POTS doctor, and then I ran across a research study to be a part of. And this was Dr. Ben Levine's, they call it the Grinch study now, because it's very controversial, because he didn't use a lot of he didn't use the scientific method the way a lot of people expected him to, and he did a lot of he had a lot of assumptions in his study about he put a lot of POTS patients under one umbrella. And for me, they ended up diagnosing me there with POTS in Dallas. and they recommended an exercise program for me, which really did help me, and I still use it to today. Use it today whenever I have a flare-up. I go right back into that exercise program, and it helps get me back up standing again, because sometimes I get so bad that I can barely even lift my head up off the bed. So having the exercise program does help, and I'll explain that in another video. But there's so much involved with this whole, with everything, physiological components to the exercise program that have helped me, but it doesn't help all POTS patients. So anyway, I became part of this study, and it took about 1 year actually. So 1 year going back and forth really helped me learn how to control my POTS. And then it also helped me learn that I had a different kind of POTS, and I was still trying to find answers. That was the beginning of my journey of trying to find answers. So I was always doing research, always talking to people, always talking to people on YouTube. I did a lot of videos back in the day. I know this video is getting kind of long, but it's just such a long story that I'm trying to set it up more. So, oh yeah, another symptom of POTS is brain fog, and that's what's happening to me right now, because I kind of forgot where I was going with this whole thing. So, anyway, yeah, I participated in that research study for a while. Once that was over, I started just trying to live my life the way they told me to in the research study. They said, just exercise and you'll be okay. That's all you need to do is exercise, drink a lot of fluids. And I was drinking a lot of fluids. I always do, and I always do. But my body didn't like fluids. It hates them. For some reason, when I drink fluids, especially in a flare-up, pee them right out. And it doesn't make any sense why it does this. Nobody can tell me why. All the doctors are confused even to today. Because, excuse me, I'll drink a lot of fluid, but it doesn't help me. It doesn't give me the volume in my veins that I need for my heart to pump my blood around my body. So in a flare-up, if I drink a glass of water, I will pee the whole thing out immediately, almost immediately. I could just sit there and just drink the water, and it would just, I don't know why, it just pees out so fast. If that makes any sense. But it's true. It's just what happens to me. So sometimes I have to have IV fluids. If I don't have IV fluids, my heart rate will go super, super, super fast. It'll go up to 200, and I will be in big trouble. So I have to always make sure I have enough fluid in my veins. And sometimes I have to get IV fluids because there's no other way for me. And that's, it's very similar for other POTS patients as well. But it's such a new syndrome still. I think the first time it was published was in 1993. That wasn't that long ago. I mean, I was 13. So that was like before I started experiencing the symptoms. But that was not too long ago. So anyway, it was really hard, especially when I first started getting sick, to get the help I needed to get, because when I was laying down, I was fine. People didn't check orthostatics, where you take your heart rate and blood pressure when you're laying down. Then they take it when you're sitting up. Then they take it when you're standing, and then they see what the changes, what happens. They do this now in most ERs. But back then they didn't do that. They just kind of, said, oh, you're fine, you're just crazy. So, after a while, I just started needing to use my wheelchair more, try not to walk as much when I was in my flare-ups. And, I mean, it wasn't easy. And then I was still looking for a doctor that was able to help me manage some of my really, really hard symptoms, which I'll get into more of that later. This video is getting kind of long, so I'll just end this here, and I'll pick up again another day. Bye.